Welcome back to the Raw Feed. I'm Gary Franchi, and we are bringing you 5 explosive stories that prove America is at war with itself. From media censorship reaching Soviet levels to federal forces literally tear-gassing protesters in the streets of Chicago, we're witnessing the complete unmasking of the establishment's desperation. But first, get out your phones right now and text the stream to 3 Patriots. The algorithm is trying to bury us, but they can't stop direct messages. And for our ex-warriors, repost this show to your followers. Let's blow past their digital walls. On today's show, media censorship has gone nuclear. ABC suspended Jimmy Kimmel indefinitely while Democrats scream about free speech. The same Democrats who cheered when conservatives were destroyed. We're going to expose the hypocrisy that's ripping their mask clean off. And then Trump's Antifa bombshell. That's right, he's moving to designate them as domestic terrorists and hit their financiers with RICO charges. George Soros, your days of funding street armies are numbered. We've got undercover footage proving Antifa is a military operation and not a protest movement. Plus, the deep state is hemorrhaging. Lisa Cook, Adam Schiff, Letitia James, all caught in financial scandals while Chuck Schumer holds America hostage with a $1.5 trillion ransom demand. We're going to show you why Trump's enemies are panicking as their house of cards collapses. And breaking today, federal forces unleashed tear gas on Chicago protesters as ICE storms through radical blockades. The National Guard is heading to Louisiana, while Memphis begs for salvation. Law and order isn't coming back. It's here, and the left certainly can't handle it. But the story that'll make your blood boil. 58 Democrats voted against honoring Charlie Kirk after his assassination. Hollywood liberals are celebrating his death at cocktail parties. We're going to name names and expose the moral bankruptcy of the American left. Let me take you back to September 19th, 1796. George Washington's farewell address warned America about the baneful effects of the spirit of party. He predicted political factions would use cunning, ambitious, and unprincipled men to subvert the power of the people. Sound familiar? Because 229 years later, to the day, we're watching his prophecy unfold in real time. We're live right now on YouTube, streaming to millions worldwide. Plus, we're hitting Rumble and X and Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram all simultaneously. And if you're not following us on all platforms, you are missing critical intel when they inevitably try to silence us again. And speaking of staying connected, download the Next News Network app right now. Links in the description. And here's what makes the Raw Feed different. We don't talk at you, we talk with you. Your reactions in the live chat are the show. We're going to be reading your super chats and Rumble rants between segments, featuring them on screen for the world to see, so send them in right now. If you want to support the show, hit the donation links in the description, and you can grab some merch at shop.nextnewsnetwork.com or join our YouTube memberships for exclusive perks and access to our members-only Discord. No furries allowed. You can become part of the Next News Inner Circle. Remember, this is your show. Your voice in the storm. Let's tear into the truth they don't want you to see. The war for America's soul starts now. And let's welcome you to the show. We got the MAGA general here. LCS hates our starting music. Well, I think there's a way you can mute the music. Yeah, I think you can actually do that if you hate it. We got Working Angel in the house. We got Sofroni Farini. Hello from Washington State. Karen Finley, Jean Sheridan, Mrs. Pothead Kenny's here. Mr. Pothead Kenny's here. Haster says that we're all Nazis. Oh, that's fine. Please expose yourself even more. We really appreciate that. We are Charlie Kirk, though. That's the truth. Tamara, right? What's up in the house? AJ Cruz, Dave Wallenberg, Hergides. Oh, wow. Is this? So we've got like a couple different profile names? Sweet. Keep spamming, dude. Hey, guys, just make sure you write down that username, and you can just go ahead and do what you need to do with it later. We got Gina Cool in the house. We've got GC Medej. Your host is Gary. That's correct. Scooby Dragon. Ukraine and Embers. Conga Joel. Everybody is filing in today. Tyson Curie, Sherry Whiteman, Banjo Joe in the house. The music of champions, says AJ. Our Boyd is sneaking in a view from work. Pothead Kenny's over in Oregon right now on his phone. Good luck is here. Tracy Hicks is here from Illinois. The gang is in the house. Yes, Karen, we do have a app now. You'll find the links to download it in the description. And yes, hit the like button. It's in a mood today. All right. Love it, love it, love it. Roxanne in the house. The woman has an Antifa patch on her jacket. Metropolitan Transportation Department of California. This crazy AF. Share with Secretary Sean Duffy, Department of Transportation, United States. Roxanne. All right, thank you for that. Okay, Mr. Hondo Solo. Fire it up. Julie Seaton in the house. Keep Charlie's voice alive. Yes, we shall. Our Boyd, yes, good afternoon to you too. All right, pronounce Made. Very Polish. All right, I'll work on that. Angie Joe from Kokomo. Yeah, baby. What's that Beach Boys song? We're gonna be back in Kokomo. I should have worn my Hawaiian shirt today, but I didn't want to piss off Tom because I told him he couldn't wear his Hawaiian shirt when he did the show. All right, it's Friday. We got an early show today because it is a family day here. Family comes first at the Next News Network, and need to head out to a family event. So I'm looking forward to it. So, Brian, let's kick this off and break in our first story. The mask has been ripped off, and the truth is uglier than we imagine. ABC pulls the plug on Jimmy Kimmel while the same Democrats who celebrated conservative censorship for years suddenly discover the First Amendment. But here's what they don't want you to see. This isn't about comedy or late night jokes. This is about who controls the narrative in America. FCC commissioners are admitting that they don't even have the power that Trump's enemies claim that he's wielding. Sinclair Broadcasting is stepping into the breach with a move that has the left screaming bloody murder. The hypocrisy is so thick you could cut it with a knife, so stay locked in because we have a message from our sponsor. Now, let me ask you something. If you built up $100,000 or more in investments, do you really want it all riding on the stock market? Think about it. Banks, billionaires, even entire countries loading up on physical gold and silver. Why? Because when markets swing, real assets hold their value. That's why I want to tell you about Noble Gold Investments. They make it simple to own investment-grade gold and silver, the same kind big players are buying, and you can actually hold it in your hand or put it safely in your retirement account. You've worked hard to build your wealth. Isn't it time you protected it? Noble Gold is family-owned, trusted by thousands, and ranked #1 in gold IRAs 4 years in a row. Their precious metal specialists are standing by to answer your questions and walk you through every step. Simple, safe, easy. Visit nextnewsgold.com. That's nextnewsgold.com. It's linked down below because it's time to protect what you've built. That number on the screen, 877-646-5347. The guys over there standing by. Tell them I said hello, would you please? Now, here is the scene outside of the Jimmy Kimmel studios. Oh, yes, they have decided to take to the streets now. It's so funny to watch these guys out there screaming. You know, I'm glad they're exercising their First Amendment right to speech and assemble. And that's exactly what ABC did when they fired Jimmy Kimmel. You see, Jimmy Kimmel was lying on the public airwaves. Yeah, that's a big no-no, according to FCC regulations. And it was Sinclair. It was ABC who decided to pull the plug as they're screaming about Donald Trump as if he had any control over the situation. Memes are flooding. Gotta love the memes. Remember the Covington kids? Yeah, that's the left, right? There you have, that's the left. Yeah. The Covington kids. Censor them. Real Donald Trump, account suspended. Yes, censor him. Revoke the license of any doctor who opposes vaccination. Ah, yes. Oh, but Jimmy Kimmel, no! Jimmy Kimmel pulled off the air, right? The hypocrisy is perfectly articulated in a meme. Terrible. Elon Musk weighing in about 4 hours ago. He's got the thinking emoji. Quote tweeting Tara Bull. Remember when they called for the president of the United States to lose his free speech? Yeah, here's Kamala Harris on X. This was published on 9/30 of 2019. Kamala Harris, look, let's be honest, real Donald Trump's Twitter account should be suspended. Yeah. Okay, so they're your free speech advocates for you. And we also have this. Senator Tina Smith just revealed that Trump's FCC isn't just silencing Jimmy Kimmel. They're scaring local outlets, too.
Government's Kimmel losing his late night spot indefinitely now, based on what he said. And it seems like this FCC, Brendan Carr, chairman, sounds like he threatened ABC basically to make this happen, which is just unheard of the federal government stepping in.
Yeah. Exactly, it's unheard of because it's never happened before, and that's not what happened, bro. Yeah, nice try. Nice try. And the fallout continues. We have this. Sinclair, the nation's largest ABC affiliate group, says Jimmy Kimmel won't get his suspension lifted until he apologizes to Charlie Kirk's family and cuts them a meaningful donation to TPUSA. This is the headline on People. This was published on September 18th, 2025. But then we have this update from Fox News just a couple hours ago. Is Jimmy Kimmel going to go ahead and apologize? Oh, well, according to Fox, late night fallout. Jimmy Kimmel reportedly refused to apologize for remarks that landed him in hot water. The suspended host had planned to further tear into Trump supporters, insisting they purposely twisted his words before being taken off the air by Disney executives. Bye-bye, bitch. Bye-bye. Jimmy Kimmel was planning on doubling down on attacking MAGA before he got suspended. ABC executives told him to go on air and apologize, but instead he wrote a very hot monologue taking aim at MAGA. Disney said, we can't have him go on. Jesse Waters breaking it down.
Jimmy Kimmel.
Mickey Mouse pulled the plug, and Jimmy Kimmel's not happy. ABC suspended his late night show indefinitely. He was spotted storming out of the studio last night and hopping into a getaway car. Even across the pond, Trump couldn't resist.
Jimmy Kimmel was fired because he had bad ratings more than anything else, and he said a horrible thing about a great gentleman known as Charlie Kirk. And Jimmy Kimmel is not a talented person. He had very bad ratings, and they should have fired him a long time ago.
So why'd Kimmel get benched? He falsely framed you for killing Charlie.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie.
Yeah, well, we're not going to go ahead and play any Jimmy Kimmel because he's been suspended from the Next News Network, too. What else we got for you here? Yes, the writers are currently marching in circles outside ABC studios in New York City as well, in solidarity with Jimmy Kimmel being suspended. We the people want Trump behind bars. Fight back. FreedomNews.tv brings us this. The screaming and the gnashing of teeth continues, but of course, as you recall, the Democrats, the party of speech codes and censorships, Tom Elliott of Grabian News, posting this beautiful montage. Shall we? Shall we?
This kind, you shouldn't be banned from one platform and not others for providing misinformation out there.
There's no guarantee to free speech on misinformation or hate speech, and especially around our democracy.
There are Americans who are engaged in this kind of propaganda, and whether they should be civilly or even in some cases criminally charged is something that would be a better deterrent.
If people go to only one source and the source they go to is sick and, has an agenda and they're putting out disinformation, our First Amendment stands as a major block. It's really hard to govern today.
This is a matter of corporate responsibility. Twitter should be held accountable and shut down that site. It is a matter of safety and corporate accountability.
The First Amendment is not absolute. It does not protect any single thing anyone says. And there are limits, and that's important. And what this committee has been trying to do for the last year and a half is to chill the federal government from monitoring what is going on social media.
When you look at what Tucker Carlson and some of these other folks on Fox do, it is very, very clearly incitement of violence. Very clearly incitement of violence. I believe that when it comes to broadcast television, like Fox News, these are subject to federal law, federal regulation in terms of what's allowed on air and what isn't.
So my biggest concern is that your view has the First Amendment hamstringing the government in significant ways.
You shouldn't be banned from one platform and not.
Oh, man, they're eating their own faces over there. God, I love the internet. It lives forever. Thank you, Tom, sincerely, for presenting that little piece. Adam Carolla, reacting to the news that ABC has indefinitely suspended Jimmy Kimmel. Let's hear what Adam has to say.
Like he was, I think a lot of people want me to comment on it. It's a weird thing. The right and the left are always sort of misinterpreting things. He was inaccurate about something. It wasn't like he was necessarily attacking Charlie Kirk. He was trying to dump it on Trump and inaccurate about it. We're living in a time where something happens. Nancy Pelosi's husband gets hit with a hammer. This side says he's had a MAGA hat on. That's
okay, Adam. He wasn't inaccurate, okay? You're being nice. He was straight up lying to the American people. Do we have to go over this again? He was lying to the American people. Trying to say that it was a MAGA guy who pulled the trigger. All right, Adam, I love you, but I gotta step in here. Sorry. Okay, so you're going to bring up the Hammer Time party?
Side says he's some kind of nudist hippie. I don't feel like it's necessary, but that's all we do. And I don't like the government getting involved. And I've heard every side of the story. And in general, I just want people to speak, and then the ratings will do the talking, and you can support them or not support them. And what you want to watch, you can watch it, or you can watch Gutfeld and listen to him bash Kimmel, or however you want to do it. That's the world I'd like to live in. My perspective is different just because I know Jimmy, and I know Jimmy to be a very good guy and a generous guy, and I've always said that about him. And I realized that while everyone else knows Jimmy as a caricature, I know him as a person. When I run into the people that don't know Jimmy as a person, O'Reilly or Dave Rubin, Dennis Prager, and they go, "What's up with your buddy Jimmy?" Well, I know him, so that's why I don't think of him like you think of him. But on the other hand, they think of you as a cartoon character too, and I know you. Dennis Prager's a very sweet man, lovely man, but these guys on the other side think of you as a cartoon. And then at a certain point, there's the assassin who thinks of Charlie Kirk as a cartoon character, not a dude. Yeah. I know him as a guy, sweet guy, fair guy, family guy, good American. But that guy looks at him as a cartoon character, and that's why he gets to kill him. I know Jimmy as a human. And I know how good he is, and I know how decent he is. And we disagree politically, but who cares? Right. We disagree on pizza toppings as well, but it doesn't mean we don't talk. I think a lot of people want...
Yeah, but, when Jimmy goes on the air and spews lies and only reinforces the negative narratives, I mean, there are consequences. Here's Tim Walls. This is North Korea style stuff. That's what he's saying. The same guy, right? The same guy who says free speech, should be limited.
Korea style stuff. Oh, hi, Chris. Good to see you. Oh, this is it. If you ever wondered how democracy dies, you're witnessing it. And I know it's people are watching a football game tonight, and we're kind of sleepwalk through this thing. But
don't remind them. We got him here.
One of the most outrageous fronts. Yeah, well, right. It's one of the most outrageous affronts on this. This is North Korea style stuff. And it's being done because this is a weak, thin-skinned man who's failing as a president. All of the things he promised are not happening. And this is exactly what dictators do. It's our most cherished freedom to point out very clearly this is a terrible president and a terrible human being who is doing nothing to improve the lives of Minnesotans.
Wow. Yeah, Tim Walz still living in his bubble, spewing his lies. Uh-oh, we have this. Aaron Burnett over at CNN. No, we cannot pull local broadcasters' license simply because they air content that he doesn't like. FCC Commissioner Anna Gomez tells Aaron Burnett the FCC does not have the authority to revoke broadcasters' license despite threats from the president.
Mostly negative coverage of him. Mm-hmm. So if he comes out and says 5 untrue things and they call out 3 of them, then that's on them. I mean, it's unclear exactly what he's saying, but he did say it will be up to Brendan Carr, obviously chairman of the FCC. Is this something the FCC could actually do?
Well, first of all, we don't license the networks. We license local broadcasters. So there is no license to pull for the networks. The local broadcasters get some programming from the networks. But second of all, we are governed by the First Amendment and by the Communications Act, which prohibits us from censoring broadcasters. So no, we cannot pull local broadcasters' licenses simply because they air content that he does not like.
Okay, so then I guess the question is, where do we go?
Okay, so yeah, where do we go from here? Well, it's up to the corporations to make their determination, and those stations all said, nay, nay. Ha ha! No. We're not going to play Jimmy Kimmel. Kaylin Collins, same network. President Trump says broadcasters should lose their license if they have late-night hosts who criticize him extensively. Well, I think the president's entitled to his opinion, right?
Jimmy Kimmel's rating conference today. There was a highly anticipated moment where we wanted to see what exactly the president was going to say about Kimmel being ousted from the airwaves because of comments that he made about President Trump and Charlie Kirk. And so in that press conference, though, Phil, he was only talking about Jimmy Kimmel's ratings. He made no mention of his FCC chair, Brendan Carr, who had put an intense amount of pressure on ABC and on Disney to rethink its programming changes, essentially in the hours before Jimmy Kimmel was taken off the air. But you heard those comments there on Air Force One as the president is making his way back to Washington. And he also said at one point, Phil, that he basically believes broadcasters and that regulators should consider taking broadcasters' licenses away if they have late night hosts on their programs who criticize him. Listen to what he told reporters just a few moments ago.
When you have a network and you have evening shows and all they do is hit Trump, that's all they do. If you go back, I guess they haven't had a conservative on in years or something, somebody said. But when you go back and take a look, all they do is hit Trump. They're licensed. They're not allowed to do that.
So we're going to wait and see how this all pans out. This story ain't over yet. Richard Blumenthal, I call for Brendan Carr's resignation. Brendan Carr didn't do it, bro. He says censoring Jimmy Kimmel goes to the core of suppressing free speech in this country. Trump, through his lapdog chair of the FCC, is creating the fear and intimidation that serves as an instrument of authoritarian power.
None has stayed. You may think of Jimmy Kimmel as comedy or entertainment, but censoring him goes to the core of suppressing free expression in this country. Other presidents have wanted to silence critics by threatening to revoke licenses or stop mergers. None has dared until now. What Donald Trump is doing through his lapdog chairman of the FCC is essentially to pressure these big corporations to silence any kind of criticism, any kind of satire, any kind of challenge. That is un-American and anti-democratic. And that's why we need to call out the chairman of the FCC. I think he needs to resign, Brendan Carr, and
okay, enough of you. We know about your lies too, right? Stolen valor and all that. Here is Megyn Kelly revealing how Jimmy Kimmel's ratings, how low they were.
Video cost, nothing. You know how much it costs to produce Jimmy Kimmel's show? I guarantee you it's tens and tens of millions. It could be as much as 100 million. I have no idea. You know how much Tucker's video cost? Nothing. You know how much Jimmy Kimmel, how many people he gets tuning in on an average night? Just last week, his average was in the overall, meaning all viewers, 1.5 million. In the key demo, 236,000. Tucker would have been embarrassed to pull that on any night he was on the Fox News channel. That's what they're getting now. Tucker's numbers were 3 times what Jimmy Kimmel gets. And Tucker's little basement video that he did from clearly like his cabin that he broadcast out of Maine in literally has 21 million views. Okay? 21 million views. Whereas, as I point out, on ABC, a massive network that comes into your home for free that you have to make no effort to find, at best, Jimmy Kimmel can get 1.5 million. He needs to have a little self-perspective before going out there and hurling these insults because he looks a little silly.
Nobody's watching Jimmy Kimmel. And that's why they're like, bye-bye. Oh, Pete Buttigieg. What's happening with Jimmy Kimmel is about politics and power. Any corporation thinks they can win by playing Trump's game will wind up regretting it sooner or later because he will never have enough. Yes, because Trump's his hunger for destruction knows no bounds. Here's Pete Buttigieg.
Along with it. Hey, it's Pete. It's really important to understand that the Jimmy Kimmel news is about politics. This is about the President of the United States, who doesn't like that a comedian had the freedom to make fun of him, pressuring a corporation that had business before the government to make sure that he was taken off the air.
Conspiracy theory.
There's something I want to say to any of the business leaders who are being dragged across one red line after the other, who are going along with it because they think it's going to help them or because they think it will get the Trump administration off their back. You need to understand that this is a one-way trip, that sooner or later, if you play this game, you will have even less room for maneuver in the future. They didn't stop at the law firms. They didn't stop at the universities. They didn't even stop at the comedians. They are not going to stop until they have total power. And if you try to ride this tiger as a business or organizational leader, sooner or later, it will eat you. Hey, it's Pete. It's really important to understand that the Jimmy Kimmel news.
He knows about riding tigers, doesn't he? So, at the end of the day here, ABC had to make a decision. Public outcry. People celebrating Charlie Kirk's death all over the internet. Jimmy Kimmel spreading lies. Again, I'll say this. Free speech for everybody. And consequences do follow that. And Jimmy Kimmel is learning that the hard way. If you got value from this report, tap subscribe. My final thought is next. So this is the moment that changes everything. When ABC caves to public pressure and suspends Kimmel, when Sinclair fills his slot with Charlie Kirk tributes, when Democrats who spent years cheering big tech censorship suddenly care about free speech, who are watching the collapse of their moral authority in real time. You see, they built this censorship machine to silence us. And now, what happened? They're getting caught in their own gears. Tom Elliott nailed it. Democrats created speech codes and cancel culture. They are the authors of it. And now they're screaming bloody murder when their own weapons get turned around. So here's my question for you. Should conservative networks start canceling liberal hosts the same way they canceled us? Drop a yes or a no in the comment section. Let's have a conversation. It's not about one late-night comedian. This is about whether they let the left keep their monopoly on cultural punishment or whether we finally fight back with their own tactics. And while you're fired up, check out our merch shop. It's linked down below. Wear your defiance proudly. The rules just changed, America. All right. The rules just changed. Oh, yeah. And they just changed big time. Oh, yeah, baby. Oh, yeah. What's going on, George Soros? Where is that clip? Here is looking to designate. This is when he said this. This is in this. This is this. Okay. Good. All right. I think we can start off with this. Yesterday, we told you that Trump was considering it, and tonight it's happening. The president isn't just talking about designating Antifa as domestic terrorists. The machinery now in motion. Attorney General Pam Bondi has RICO investigators building cases that reach all the way up to the billionaire class. But while Trump tightens the noose, the streets are exploding with new footage that proves exactly why this designation is long overdue. BLM protesters in New York openly chanting death threats. Undercover journalists have exposed military-style training camps. And the money trail? It leads exactly where you think it does. The establishment media said Antifa was a myth. Well, tonight we'll show you why that lie just died. Now, a 2025 survey found that over half of U.S. adults are concerned about how fast their skin is aging and 40% fixate on random wrinkles or dark spots. If it sounds like you're not alone. More and more people are noticing visible changes in their skin far earlier than expected. This is why I use my secret anti-aging weapon, and I'm obsessed with the changes I've noticed in my skin. It provides my skin with 5 must-have types of premium collagen needed to help reduce wrinkles. Since taking it, I've experienced smoother skin, more elasticity, fewer fine lines, and a more youthful glow. Plus, it mixes smoothly with my morning coffee. No taste or clumps. Be sure to grab a bag of ageless multi-collagen on your way out of this program. Well, it's 51% off at healthwithgary.com and help take the years off the clock. We thank our sponsors for making this show possible. Now, back on September 12th, President Trump joined Fox and Friends. He says that George Soros and his entire network will be investigated under RICO charges, claiming Soros is behind the funding, training, and radicalization of young people, fueling terror and extremism. Now, this was just a day after the Charlie Kirk assassination, 2 days after. So everyone is looking for the source of this hatred. And of course, as the investigation has unfolded, we have found that the shooter, Tyler Robinson, had anti-fascist messages engraved on the bullets, connecting him or his ideology directly to the groups that have been wreaking havoc across the United States. President Trump knows this. Kash Patel knows this. Ted Cruz knows this, you know this, and I know this.
That because we have rap.
I had one the other night. I went into a restaurant, and this woman stood up. I looked at her immediately. She had money. She wasn't serious. They get paid for it. They're professional from Soros and other people. And we're going to look into Soros because I think it's a RICO case against him and other people. Because this is more than like protests. This is real agitation. This is riots on the street. And we're going to look into that.
What do we do about our country with that? Because we have radicals on the right.
I had one the other night. I went into a restaurant, and this woman stood. I had one
the radicals are freaking out. Do you know who Brian Krasenstein is? Do you know who he is? Yeah, he's a notorious left-wing troll on X, financed by the radical left. After President Trump made the statement that I'm pleased to inform our many USA patriots, I'm designating Antifa a sick, dangerous, radical left disaster as a major terrorist organization. We'll be strongly recommending those funding Antifa be thoroughly investigated in accordance with the highest legal standards and practices. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So there you see it right there on your screen. President Trump designated Antifa a major terrorist organization. Well, Brian Krasenstein, what do you have to say? He went out and declared that he's Antifa. This is the standard operating procedure of these deranged leftists who try to just say, oh, it's just an idea. It's not a group. It's just an idea. It's just people thinking about it. He writes, I am Antifa, meaning I am against fascism. All Americans should be. Antifa is not an organization. Domestic groups also cannot be formally designated as terrorist organizations under U.S. law. Trump did not have the legal authority to unilaterally designate Antifa as a terrorist organization. No federal statute allows for a president to make such a designation domestically. So I proudly went ahead and I said, well, guess what? I'm anti-Kraz, meaning I'm against the Krasensteins. All Americans should be. Anti-Kraz is not an organization. It's common sense. Professional trolls cannot be formally designated as patriots under U.S. law. Krasensteins did not have moral authority to unilaterally crown themselves spokesmen for America. No statute allows a Twitter grifter to masquerade as a movement while pushing propaganda. And here's an AI-generated picture I made of myself last night with my anti-Kraz logo on my T-shirt. Yeah, spray painting it just like they do. A little bit of humor for you. 3 hours ago, Air Force One, Eric Doherty posting this. LMAO, funniest president ever. He writes, the reporter asked President Trump regarding Antifa being a terrorist organization. Uh-oh, what happened next?
They don't have, regarding Antifa, what you posted. NPR, sir. Regarding
Are they still here?
They are?
Are they still here? Oh, good. Congratulations.
Regarding designating them a terrorist organization, when they don't have defined leadership or membership, how do you target them?
Who doesn't?
Antifa.
We're going to find out, right? We're going to see. People have been talking about it for a long time. We're going to see. Did they have anything to do with your network? Okay. But we're going to find out.
Regarding Antifa, what you post.
Did they have anything to do with your network? NPR? What? How are they on Air Force One? I thought they were defunded into oblivion. Oh, good. Congratulations. Not for long. So the reporter is trying to say, like, how do you target Antifa? You know, there's just an idea. They don't have an organizational roster. Oh, they don't? Trump says, we're going to find out. I mean, how do they not have an organizational roster when they are publicly posting flyers, they're hosting events, they're telling people and directing people to go to events, wearing full black bloc and just wreaking havoc, burning down buildings, attacking people, destroying storefronts, right? That is organized terror. Okay, that is the definition of domestic terrorism. They are inflicting fear on the streets of the cities in order to reach a political goal. Political domestic terrorism. I mean, if these people can't, I mean, it's NPR, I mean, of course they can't see it. They're blinded by their own ideology, and that's why President Trump just went ahead and said, you're not going to be here for long. Trump said he's looking into designating Antifa and other left-wing groups as domestic terror organizations. This was 72 hours ago. He's been working with AG Bondi on RICO charges for those funding these groups, meaning George Soros, because Trump has had enough. Let's flash back 72 hours, just before the moment that Antifa was designated.
Do that 100%.
Given with all the that's going on with Charlie Kirk's assassination and the left-wing violence going on, do you have plans, and actually this is a great opportunity with all these, do you plan on designating Antifa finally a domestic terror organization?
Well, it's something I would do, yeah. If I have support from the people back here, I think we'd start with Pam, I think. But I would, if you give me, I would do that 100%. And others also, by the way. But Antifa is terrible.
Are there other groups that you can think of?
There are other groups, yeah. There are other groups. We have some pretty radical groups, and they got away with murder. And also, I've been speaking to the Attorney General about bringing RICO against some of the people that you've been reading about that have been putting up millions and millions of dollars for agitation. These aren't protests. These are crimes, what they're doing, where they're throwing bricks at cars of ICE and Border Patrol.
Given with all the that's going on.
So their days are numbered. This is only the beginning of this investigation. Andy Ngo, who has been targeted, almost died at the hands of Antifa, posted this 17 hours ago. Antifa doesn't exist? Then who beat me on the head with fiberglass gloves and made my brain bleed? Who assassinated Aaron Danielson in downtown Portland? Who tried to blow up the Tacoma ICE facility? Who shot an officer in the neck at the Texas ICE facility? He is on with Real America's Voice. Let's listen.
Reinforce with. Let me show people some video of you right in the middle of Antifa. This is not First Amendment rights. they are attacking you. They end up coming in here in a moment and they'll start punching you. And Andy, as we watch this video, Democrats want to tell us Antifa doesn't exist. They just punched you in the face here.
Yeah, not only did they punch me on the face and head, they were wearing gloves that were reinforced with fiberglass so that my brain bled and I was hospitalized and nearly died. So I would like to tell that story to the Democrats. I would like to tell them about the stories of people who have been killed by Antifa, like Aaron Danielson in Portland, Oregon in 2020, who was a Trump supporter who was assassinated by an Antifa gunman who left behind a manifesto and made references to Antifa, very similar to Antifa references, by the way, on the rifle cartridges that were found near the Charlie Kirk assassination site.
You see, this is all connected. Here's more from Andy Ngo on One America's News. He lays out the vision for it to be practically enforced.
That can be used.
How does the Trump's terrorist designation actually get enforced?
Good question. So what can be done is at the federal level, there are RICO charges that can be used, conspiracy charges. People don't actually know that it's a federal crime, for example, to issue threats of bodily injury in interstate communications. There are so many tools at the disposal right now. You don't need new legislation that can actually really seriously hamper the organizing efforts of Antifa. Some of the Antifa groups have ties to International Antifa. There's actual group called International Antifa, and they operate outside of the U.S. When you bring in an international element there, immediately what can be applied is the anti-terrorism legislation that exists in the post-9/11 world. So there are tools there. It's going to be hard. You can see, we can imagine it right now. The ACLU, everyone's going to line up to try to protect Antifa in the courts. They're going to try to get injunctions placed, arguing that this is going against the First Amendment and free speech. It's not free speech to organize violent crime.
How does...
Yeah, it's not free speech. Okay? That is straight up terrorism. A new investigative journalist, Dr. Carolyn B., went undercover with Antifa, and she says it's a military operation. They bring in people with military experience to lead sessions. Antifa trains people how to get arrested. Okay, check it out.
Trainings. Carlin Borisenko is an undercover investigative journalist for Decode the Left who's infiltrated these terror cells. Carlin, tell me about how these people train. They look pretty militaristic.
Yeah, absolutely. They do have sessions where they bring in people with military experience. Anti-war is a very big thing for Antifa, so they do hand-to-hand combat trainings. I was just undercover with them in New York City over the weekend, where they had a whole self-defense class where they were teaching people how to violently, confront the police, but also defend themselves if they needed to be put in that position.
And why do they always get out of jail so quickly? You see all these people get popped, they get bailed right out, and charges never stick. How is that?
Well, Antifa, actually, they train people on how to get arrested. And it's interesting with far left subcultures because they actually volunteer to get arrested and go through this type of training where they are provided legal support, they are provided lawyers, they are provided all of this stuff with mutual aid. And so as soon as they get arrested, Antifa basically goes down to the jail and they bail them out, and they are all set up with a lawyer and ready to go. So they plan all of this stuff out ahead of time, and they have the resources set up for people to be able to be taken care of.
Yeah, I mean, obviously someone's paying for their legal representation. What is the core mission of Antifa? Is it anarchy? Are they anarchists?
Yeah, Antifa are anarchists. Their primary goal is the violent overthrow of the federal government. I cannot emphasize this enough. We've been hearing a lot of talk about civil war over the last couple of years between Democrats and Republicans, red versus blue. I firmly believe that the real civil war we have coming is the radical revolutionary socialists and communists in Antifa versus the federal government. That is their goal. That is their only goal. And people need to start taking this problem very, very seriously.
And President Trump is taking it seriously. Here from the Skiff, Alex Soros warned to cut ties with extremists and their groups. Two specific groups tied to the Open Society that were specifically named to cut ties were a group called Indivisible and Move On. Remember MoveOn.org? These are both connected to Antifa-related violent protests, riots, major crimes, and domestic terrorist operations. These are just 3 well-known groups out of over 54 major groups and possibly hundreds of subgroups around the world. If Soros continues to fund these groups, they'll experience the full force of the federal government tearing into everything they're involved with, including all their finances and then some. Another angle being explored is through the IRS, what corners were cut, where they're hiding or laundering the money, and if illegal operations and crimes are where the money is mostly coming from in the first place in connection to these groups. Remember when John Gotti, Al Capone were convicted for tax-related offenses, Al Capone famously going down for tax evasion in 1931 after being untouchable by other charges. John Gotti being convicted in 92 on racketeering charges related to his failure to file tax returns and conspiracy to defraud the government. Sometimes justice might not always look like you expect it to, but it will come one way or another. Quote, we urged Alex Soros to end funding for Indivisible and move on, the groups behind violent anti-Trump protests. If not, the feds should scrutinize his foundation, end quote, Peter Flaherty. They will tear into everything and everybody, including where the money comes from, where it goes, every single group in the U.S. and abroad, all the way down to who dropped off the pallets of bricks to riot with. Listen to this.
This kind of mess last week. We sent a letter to Alex Soros, who chairs the Soros Foundation. Daddy Soros put his son in charge of it a couple of years ago. And we made a very simple request that the Open Society Foundations, so-called, end their financial support for 2 groups in particular, Indivisible and Move On. These are the primary organizers of these nationwide campaigns. We've seen the messaging from both the organizers and the participants is always that Trump is a fascist, he's a Hitler, his supporters are extremists and white supremacists, and this kind of messaging has been persistent. And we've seen it in their so-called No Kings protest days, and we've seen it during the Tesla takedown protests, which was accompanied by all the violence, the arson, the vandalism of Teslas, and so forth. So the point I would make to Alex Soros is if you don't want the federal government pouring over your books, why don't you do the socially responsible thing and end support for these 2 groups?
Is there a way that we can legally kick their influence out of the country?
Well, you know, the president can do some things that he's not done yet. One of them is to appoint an effective commissioner of the IRS. He appointed a former congressman named Billy Long. He lasted 2 months. The post is presently vacant. The tax-exempt division of the IRS, which has oversight of groups like Soros's foundation, is largely ineffective. There's no revenue in it, usually, for the IRS, so it's been neglected over the years. The last effective head of the tax-exempt division we had was Lois Lerner, and she was effective for all the wrong reasons. Yeah. President Trump should appoint an IRS commissioner who's committed to even-handed application of the law. We believe that there are many, many violations of the tax-exempt status of the groups that George Soros is funding.
I want to ask you, because of your experience in the terrorism field at the FBI, I want to ask you about the designation of Antifa as a terrorist organization. We saw what they did in the Summer of Love back in 2020 following George Floyd riots. And even before that, burning down cities, burning down police precincts. President Trump was sent to a bunker because of their activity just across the street from the White House. When it comes to, because I know President Trump has spoken to Attorney General Pam Bondi about possibly bringing RICO charges against some of these organizations because of that pyramid structure of them and obviously their donors at the top. Do you think that that is a smart way to go?
Yeah, I definitely do think that can be productive with designating them an actual terrorist group. I'm more familiar with that on the international terrorism side with the Immigration and Nationality Act, Section 219. I think there could be potential pay dirt here because Antifa did originally start in Europe. So if they could find some way to internationally connect them with groups in Europe, I think it'll go a long way in helping them to actually designate the organization as a terrorist organization if they can establish that international tie, and then they can get more focus on them. And obviously you want to go towards the funding. Like during the Summer of Love, we had pallets of bricks showing up, and nobody knew where these pallets of bricks were showing up on the edge of towns across the nation. It was like a big mystery, which was shocking to a lot of us internally as to why are we not investigating this? Like, why are we not trying to figure out where these pallets of bricks are coming from that, you know, these rioters are then using against police officers or to destroy property?
Did we ever look into that, by the way, the pallets of bricks? I mean, I feel like it feels like everything is under surveillance these days. That seems like some pretty low-hanging fruit.
Yeah, it is some pretty low-hanging fruit, and that's why President Trump's designating him a terrorist organization, and RICO charges are on the way. If you got value from this report, tap subscribe. My final thought is next. Now, this isn't yesterday's warning anymore. It's today's war declaration. When Trump moves to designate Antifa as domestic terrorists and unleash RICO on their puppet masters, we're witnessing the death of a lie. For years, they told you Antifa was an idea. Andy Ngo's brain bleed wasn't an idea. Aaron Danielson murder wasn't an idea. The attempted bombing of ICE facilities wasn't an idea. These are acts of war by a Soros-funded paramilitary force, and Trump just called their bluff. Okay? The undercover work you saw? Exposing the truth. Military veterans training street soldiers, jail operatives, coordinating releases, bail funds, keeping terrorists on the streets. So here's the question. Should Trump immediately freeze all assets to organizations funding Antifa like Soros? Drop a yes or no. Sound off below. The days of billionaires financing Americans' chaos while hiding behind NGOs just ended. RICO doesn't care about your nonprofit status. But if you want to support us, you can check out our merch shop and show where you stand in this war for American streets. All right, real quick, I just got to make a quick phone call. Okay, sorry about that. We're going to move right along into our next topic. Any super chats to speak of at the moment? No super chats right now. We're moving right along. Okay, let's get cooking. The corruption is spilling out faster than they can contain it. 3 of Trump's biggest enemies all caught in the same financial scandal in the exact same time. Coincidence? While that bomb detonates, Chuck Schumer just revealed the Democrats' price for keeping the government open, and it'll make your blood boil. $500 million for propaganda, free healthcare for illegals, and a spending explosion that would bankrupt your grandchildren. The timing isn't accidental. As Trump's Justice Department is closing in, the establishment's using the shutdown as a human shield. They're holding your paycheck hostage to protect their dirty secrets. The ransom note is on the table. Now keep on watching. But first, a word from our sponsor, because we recently covered a company called Western Star Resources here on the channel, a gold and silver exploration company we believed had serious potential for U.S. expansion. Well, it looks like that move is already in motion. Western Star just signed an MOU with the American Corp to push forward their U.S. growth strategy, and here is why the timing is so important. With domestic demand for precious metals climbing year after year, and with the U.S. government making it clear they want more homegrown exploration instead of relying on foreign supply, companies like Western Star are in a prime position. Not just about mining, it's about national security, economic stability, and capturing a huge market opportunity. Western Star's expertise, combined with a supportive policy environment, means they are stepping into the U.S. market under the best possible conditions. Could a huge U.S. expansion be next? I wouldn't bet against it. Western Star Resources is making gold and silver great again. Check them out. Link in the description, westernstarresources.com, and we thank them for their support of our channel. Now, this just in, a bombshell revelation. Representative Tim Burchett has gone public with explosive allegations against his fellow lawmakers. Yeah, he's not a popular guy on Capitol Hill anymore. He's accusing them of engaging in rampant insider trading. Now, this is stuff we've covered here. We know what goes on. He says for years, members of Congress have been getting rich using hardworking Americans' taxpayer money. U.S. Capitol just a few hours ago.
No nicknames for the no nicknames for the
You know, it's kind of funny when you deal with this stuff. And I talked to the ethics people the other day. Everybody knows I make these crazy skateboards, and people asking, "Hey, sell me a skateboard." So I said, "Well, let me go check it out with ethics." I literally got to get attorneys involved to sell a dadgum skateboard. But if I want to do insider stock trading, just get elected to Congress. Really, I mean, let's just be honest. Look, everybody ought to do like I do. Get their $12,000 portfolio in a mutual fund. Let my buddy Tommy Seiler handle it. He does pretty well. Although my daughter's going to school now, so I'll be cashing that out very soon. But look, we're public servants. We're stewards of the community. Nobody's above the law. You hear that? It's kind of become cliche up here. But for years, members of Congress, we know they've gotten rich using hardworking American taxpayers' money. Members sit on committees. We attend private meetings where we gain privileged information about companies. Congress appropriates money to economic sectors that may overlap with members' own portfolios. I call it the war pimps a lot. I worry about us voting on wars that we're going to send our kids off to that we couldn't even find on a dadgum globe, and members haven't owned stock in those things. The American taxpayer always gets the short end of the stick, and Congress seems to profit at their expense. This body has been enriching itself on the taxpayer's dime, and dadgummit, it's got to stop. The president's already said he would sign a bill banning stock trading for members of Congress if passed. I think the real test is going to be whether Congress has the guts to stand up and do what's right. And I'm proud of all these people up here. I don't agree with them, some of these people, on anything. If Cortez told me the sun was coming up tomorrow, I'd go out and check it out.
Tim Burchett not holding back over on MSNBC. Chris Hayes says allegations against Lisa Cook, Adam Schiff, and Letitia James. Trying to make excuses. Listen.
Market mission to immediately fire the only black woman serving on the Federal Reserve's Board of Governors, a woman who's appointed by Joe Biden. Now, this is part of Donald Trump's unprecedented attempt to just get control of the Federal Reserve Board so he can personally dictate the country's monetary policy in violation of the entire structure of the independent central bank that we've had for over 100 years. Trump claims that he legally can fire that governor, Lisa Cook, for cause.
Yes, he can, for cause.
The cause, he says, is alleged mortgage fraud. The White House says that in 2021, Cook took out a mortgage on a condo in Atlanta. This is before she even joined the Fed. And she told the lender it would be her primary residence when she already had a primary home in Michigan. Now, if those allegations weirdly sound familiar, well, it's because Cook isn't alone.
She is just the latest perceived political enemy of the president to face mortgage fraud accusations. NBC News reported this same month that Bondi had appointed former interim U.S. Attorney Ed Martin to serve as a special attorney to investigate similar allegations against California Senator Adam Schiff and New York State Attorney General Letitia James.
Okay, so allegations against Lisa Cook and California Senator Adam Schiff, New York Attorney General Letitia James. It does seem more than a little odd that three people Trump has it out for just all happen to commit the same infraction, doesn't it? Like, where are all these allegations of specifically mortgage fraud coming from? Well, from one man, it turns out. This guy, his name is Bill Pulte. He is the heir to a construction empire, and he's a big Trump donor who regularly blasts out pro-MAGA messages to his 3 million Twitter followers. And Pulte was handpicked by Trump to run the Federal Housing Finance Authority. It's a big job. Job is basically to oversee U.S. mortgage markets, which is an important job, to jumpstart home sales, improve housing affordability. But he also has access to mortgage documents from millions of American homeowners. And boy, it sure seems that he has been searching them for the dirt the administration could use against its adversaries. In fact, he is the one that referred Schiff and James to the DOJ for prosecution. And in the case of Lisa Cook, ginned up a pretext for her illegal firing.
Yeah, let it rip, baby. Let it rip. Payback's a bitch.
Never seen people support crime like this. This is insane. Alleged crime, let's call it that. What she did was wrong. The fact that she hasn't come out and said, hey, these aren't my documents, or some rational explanation for this alleged crime, why is she not doing it? It doesn't make any sense.
I think what they're saying, it seems unusual. You're not, I don't think your primary role at what you're doing now is to seek out and find mortgage fraud.
That's completely false.
I mean, either way, listen, I mean, Chris Hayes is going to go ahead and carry water for the radical leftist that he's been carrying water for years. So, personally, I don't care. If President Trump wants to go use one of his henchmen to go through all the records of mortgages and with a fine-tooth comb and specifically target Letitia James, Adam Schiff, Lisa Cook, I say go for it. Do it. Get us more names. All right? Because it's time. I mean, that's small potatoes compared to what they did to him. Okay? So, let her rip, baby. Let her rip. Yeah, Chris Hayes is going to cry all he wants. Oh, what's this? See, they're all screaming. What? Lisa Cook? Letitia James? What's the pattern, folks? Who's Mike Brady? Gen X snark on tap. He's a tennis junkie, political fire starter, walking 80s and 90s time capsule with spicy opinions. 6,333 followers. He notices a pattern, ladies and gentlemen. Well, thank God. Right? He's quote tweeting Lucas Sanders. Donald Trump is expected to fire U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia after his office was unable to find incriminating evidence of mortgage fraud against Letitia James. What?
The president's enemy. He's now using the power of the federal government, making a new move against the New York Attorney General who prosecuted him, Letitia James.
George, this is a major escalation of the president's effort to get retribution against his political rivals. ABC News has learned that President Trump is expected to fire a top federal prosecutor for failing to file criminal charges against Letitia James, somebody who is obviously very high on the president's enemies list.
Yeah, good. If you're not gonna carry water for the president of the United States, if you're not gonna find the charges, keep digging. Find someone who will. Okay? Tish James and her antics and her rhetoric, she campaigned on destroying this man, Donald Trump. So I have no qualms about supporting an effort to destroy her as retribution. Let's go.
The prosecutor is Eric Siebert. He is the U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia, arguably the most important U.S. Attorney's office in the country, responsible for the bulk of counterterrorism and espionage cases. And his office has been investigating James for 5 months on allegations of mortgage fraud that have been brought by the administration. He found no evidence to go forward with the prosecution, declined to do so, and now we are told that he will be fired. ABC News has learned that the president intends to put somebody else in the U.S. Attorney's office who will more aggressively.
Great. That's exactly what I freaking voted for. So over there on, what is that? Good Morning America. Yeah, Good Morning America, baby. We got a president who's kicking ass. And now, 6 hours ago, Speaker of the House Mike Johnson, it's just been exposed that Chuck Schumer and Democrats Congress are demanding free health insurance for illegal aliens, $500 million for NPR, $1.5 trillion spending increase in exchange for averting a government shutdown. Wow. You know what I say? I always love it when these conversations come up. I say, shut the freaking government down. Shut it down. Okay? They do more damage when their doors are open. But this is just insane. Free health insurance for illegals? $500 million for NPR. I thought NPR was defunded.
It includes it. So we've been working really hard to get the House back to the regular appropriations order, and we've achieved that. In the House, in a bipartisan fashion, they passed all 12 appropriations bills through the committee, 3 of them off the floor. The Senate passed 3 bills. Remember the old videos on Saturday mornings about how a bill becomes a law? If the House and the Senate disagree on an appropriation spending bill, they go to a conference committee to work it out. We voted to do that. All this is working well, but we're coming up on the end of the fiscal year, September 30th. So we need a few more weeks to finish this good work. So what we did in a responsible manner as Republicans in charge is we offered a totally clean short-term CR to get that job done. Chuck Schumer saw that. He returned a counteroffer that is filled with partisan wish lists and poison pills and demands. It includes, for example, Brett, what Chuck Schumer is arguing for. He wants to reinstate free health care for illegal aliens. He wants to add $500 million to prop up liberal media outlets. And he wants to add a massive $1.4 trillion spending hike to what should be a simple 7-week stopgap funding measure. We can't do that. We're not going to do it.
Yeah.
So we've been working really hard to get the House back to the regular appropriation.
Man, Chuck Schumer, seriously, dude? You going to try and pull that off? Your rapid response 47 with more. Speaker Johnson.
American people. The ball is in Chuck Schumer's court. I hope he does the right thing. I hope he does not choose to shut the government down and inflict pain unnecessarily on the American people. I hope that they will vote on this clean short-term CR so that we can continue the work to get our appropriations done. The ball is in Chuck Schumer's court.
Even when the government shut down, guys, you know the ball. You know the government keeps operating. Checks still keep going out. It's all fear tactics. Elizabeth Warren, though, she's freaking out. We're on the verge of a government shutdown because Republicans refuse to fix the healthcare emergency in America. I'm on my way to the Senate floor to sound the alarm. Look at her. She's like panicking. She's like running down the hall. Oh my goodness. She's got her selfie camera up. She's screaming at the American people. Ah!
Of America. We're on the verge of a government shutdown because Republicans refuse to fix the healthcare emergency in America. I'm on the way to the Senate floor right now to say...
What emergency? What healthcare emergency is there? I cover the news all day long. I haven't heard of a healthcare emergency. Todd, can you confirm real quick? Is there a healthcare emergency? Oh, there's not. Oh, this is more bluster and bullshit. Thank you. Thank you for confirming that. Okay, back to the panicked Elizabeth Warren.
On the alarm. Look, Donald Trump and the Republicans created a real crisis in this country by ripping away health care from millions of Americans.
Did they do that? Really?
We're talking about seniors being kicked out of nursing homes.
Oh, really?
Mamas who have little kids with cancer watching as life-saving research is shut down.
What did you say?
You said people gonna die?
Yeah, that's what she's saying.
Hospitals on the brink of collapse. If Republicans want our votes for this budget, they've got to restore health care for millions of Americans. It's really that simple.
You know what? Maybe Pocahontas, instead of heading to the Senate floor, maybe you got a drum circle to go to. All right? I think there's some Native Americans that are missing their chieftain. If you got value from this report, tap subscribe. My final thought is next. You see, they're cornered and they're desperate. Lisa Cook, Adam Schiff, Letitia James, all suddenly facing the same financial violations. Chris Hayes wants you to believe it's coincidence. Meanwhile, Schumer holding a gun to Americans' heads. Give us $500 million for NPR, propaganda, free health care for illegals, and $1.5 trillion in blood money or we shut down. This is extortion, plain and simple. They know that Trump's DOJ is closing in, so they're using the shutdown as a shield. Speaker Johnson calling their bluff. The ball's in Schumer's court. Either he backs down or owns the shutdown. So here's the real question. Should Republicans refuse any deal that funds NPR or benefits for illegals? Drop a yes or a no. Let's continue this conversation in the comments below. This is not about budgets anymore. It's about whether we negotiate with financial terrorists holding our government hostage. And while the swamp burns, you can gear up with some Next News merch and show them you are not backing down. Shop.nextnewsnetwork.com. Elizabeth Warren, go to your freaking drum circle. Okay. Oh, yeah, baby. It is on. It is on like Voltron, as they say. Frank of Xbox, I am from Florida, living in Connecticut. I'm friends with a Native American. Great story. Where is Rudy Giuliani? Shut it down, says Tyson. Pocahontas will claim she is anything, any ethnicity that gives her free stuff. All right, folks, let's roll into this next topic. This is great stuff. Got some breaking news. Federal forces just sent a message that echoed from Chicago to Louisiana. The days of mob rule are over. Wait till you see this video. What started as routine ICE operations has now exploded into full-scale street warfare when radical agitators tried to use their usual blockade tactics. But this time, something was different. The response was swift, decisive, and all caught on camera. Tear gas filled the air, federal agents in tactical gear moving in like a unit, and the professional protesters who terrorized communities for years finally met their match. From Memphis business owners begging for protection to Louisiana mothers burying their children to the streets of Chicago, America is crying out for order. And tonight we are seeing what happens when that cry is finally answered. But first, a word from our sponsor, because we recently covered a company called Western Star Resources here on the channel, a gold and silver exploration company. We believed had serious potential for U.S. expansion. Well, it looks like that move is already in motion. Western Star just signed an MOU with the American Corps to push forward their U.S. growth strategy. And here's why the timing is so important. With domestic demand for precious metals climbing year after year, and with the U.S. government making it clear they want more homegrown exploration instead of relying on foreign supply, companies like Western Star are in a prime position. Now, this is not just about mining. It's about national security, economic stability, and capturing a huge market opportunity. Western Star's expertise combined with supportive policy environment means they're stepping into the U.S. market under the best possible conditions. Could a huge U.S. expansion be next? Well, I wouldn't bet against it. Western Star Resources is making gold and silver great again. You can find out more by visiting the link in the description, westernstarresources.com. And we thank them for sponsoring this program. Okay, we've got the video, baby. Yep. Oh, and she's down. And she is down. Federal agent brought a resisting left-wing agitator to the ground outside ICE near Chicago. Eric Doherty says, I could watch this all day. Boom. Yeah, maybe you're gonna F around and you're gonna find out. 72 hours ago, Governor Jeff Landry was unclear when specifically asked if he and Trump have spoken about deploying the National Guard to Louisiana and what such a deployment would happen. Yeah, the scenes you're seeing in Chicago, coming to Louisiana.
And I said, well, look, let's talk about times under which the National Guard did things like that. Wasn't that long ago. New Year's Day, the tragedy that befall Bourbon Street. One of the first calls I made was to General Freelou. And I said, how many soldiers can you give me? Why? Because we had to secure the largest crime scene the city of New Orleans ever had. And what the National Guard does is it gives you a force multiplier. What it does is it gives you some boots on the ground of people who are highly trained and highly disciplined. And I think that that's the overall arching message. It's not about, oh, we're sending the military in. I think the president recognizes that our cities around this country are way too violent, okay? People say, well, this is a militarization of our big cities. Our cities are already war zones. Too many people are already dying. I mean, we leaned in on that way before in anticipation and hoping that President Trump would be and did get elected. Why? Because he supports law enforcement, right?
Yep, and we're going to see these scenes unfolding in Memphis, Louisiana, New Orleans, and more. Speaking of Louisiana, here's a young lady from Shreveport. Shreveport, broken my heart, she says, after her 17-year-old son was shot and killed. A grieving mother speaks out as leaders consider Trump-backed plan to deploy the National Guard to fight crime in Shreveport, Louisiana.
Bond Street.
I love my home. I love Shreveport. But Shreveport has broken my heart.
Shannon Ballantyne's 17-year-old son Cameron was shot and killed last month near their home in a high-crime neighborhood in Shreveport, Louisiana. Police have not yet made any arrests.
This is Bond Street.
Shreveport Police Chief Wayne E. Smith has pins marking each one of the 26 murders that have shaken the city so far this year. He is weighing a proposal floated by President Donald Trump to send National Guard troops into Louisiana to fight crime, an idea backed by the state's Republican governor. Smith says low pay and benefits make recruitment tough, and if the Louisiana National Guard is deployed in his city or elsewhere in the state, his ranks will be thinned out even more.
Significant.
So think about this, okay? This is the inevitable result of what? Say it with me. Defund the police. You see, cops don't want to go be cops anymore. They don't want to. Cops have been handcuffed by these policies. They can't even go out. They're afraid that if they even enforce the law, that they are going to be held accountable. Yeah, there's some bad actors out there. And bad actors should be held accountable. But when you defund the police, demoralize the police, this is the result. Crime goes up. President Trump says, I've had enough. And the National Guard has to go in and fix the problem. This is all the direct result of failed policies from Democrat-run shitholes. Speaking of that, here's looks like a Memphis restaurant owner.
Elwood's recently announced on social media it will offer a free barbecue sandwich to Guard members in the city.
It's been the biggest post I've ever done. It's gotten over 300,000 views and thousands of comments.
Owner Tim Bednarski says he's seen the effects of crime outside his restaurant off Summer Avenue.
I have armed security 7 days a week, and it's unbelievable what happens every day in front of my restaurant.
He believes the Guard will make a difference.
Without a doubt, anything will help.
Elwood's recently announced.
And you're going to get a free barbecue sandwich with every deployment. You got to love that. Senator Brent Taylor was asked by News Nation about the Make Memphis Matter movement and whether Democrats will finally get the message that it's time to accept help or get our crime challenge under control.
The Make Memphis Matter movement, what is the mission, and do you anticipate bipartisan work when it comes to tackling crime in Memphis, and how do you help, sir, facilitate that?
Well, the Make Memphis Matter mission is really to help remind lawmakers in Tennessee and in Washington that Memphis matters. We are a vibrant city. We are a river city. We're a city with a lot of music heritage. We're the home of FedEx, International Paper, St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, and Elon Musk supercomputer, Grok, artificial intelligence. So we are a wonderful city. I chose to live here. I'm originally from another state, but I chose to live here. And so we want to make Memphis matter. And in order to make Memphis matter, we have to make Memphis safe. And so that's what we're doing. I would like for this to be a bipartisan effort, but unfortunately, the Democrats have decided to stand against President Trump and Governor Lee in this National Guard deployment, and it's unfortunate because all it does is render them to have the same credibility as my mother's Facebook page.
You know what's funny? Donald Trump is making Democrats want crime. Here is more just an hour ago outside of the Broadview ICE facility in Chicago, where they effed around and they found out. CBS News cameras on the scene, capturing the chaos of the protesters attempting to block ICE vehicles. You can see it there. This is Chicago. And this is going to be a scene we're going to see unfolding across cities. We've already seen it in Los Angeles. Likely New York very soon. Memphis already starting to happen. Louisiana clearly next. Let's check in.
Moved by an agent, except for that one scuffle. Darius Johnson has been
agents are taking someone into the facility. That is a second protester. Let's check in with Darius Johnson, who's been on the ground there all morning long. Darius, what can you tell us about how this started?
Hey, Lou, get right in. Hey, Lou, get the shot inside of the facility. They have someone on the ground. If you're able to see that person, they're closing the gate right now. There's a person on the ground being held on the ground by those ICE agents. And look, if you pan over right now, Lou, let's see right here with the vehicle. They are plowing through the protesters right here at this vehicle. They tried to deploy everything that they could as these protesters were trying to block agents from moving in and out. They have another man. They are just deploying anything that they can to try to get the protesters out of the way. Dana, give me 1 second as I put my mask on because they just sprayed chemical agents again. Okay. So right now, this is what we have been seeing.
I love the smell of deportations in the morning.
It's been one of the tensest moments this morning. What just happened right now? You had vehicles that were trying to make its way out. Dana, I'm actually going to move away from the camera now that the smoke is
Darius,
now impacting my eyes.
You need to get away from that smoke. Please, we appreciate you reporting. Get away from that smoke.
I'm back near the vehicle, Dana. I'm near the vehicle. I have a mask on. I'm okay. So basically, every time that people are pulling out, they are blocking the vehicles from getting in and out. At this point, what we saw this time was the agents on top of the roof. They started, Lou, you need to get something on your eyes.
Wow. It's very important.
Dana, let me send it back to you. We're going to hold the shot.
Yes.
We just need to protect our eyes right now.
Yes.
Yes. Give us 1 second so we can just get our bearings straight.
It is a very fluid scene and right now a very volatile scene on the ground outside the Broadview ICE facility in that west suburb. Darius Johnson's been on the ground all morning. The agents have deployed some sort of chemical, some sort of smoke that Darius was just saying was an irritant to his eyes. Our photographer Lou Kleinberg out there on the scene too. As they wisely did, they have moved away from that smoke in that area to try to protect their eyes, to try to get protection on. We are told as reporters in the field, we should have protective gear just in case a scene like this becomes volatile, which it has this morning. There have been flare-ups like this over the past about almost 2 hours now, a little more than 2 hours perhaps. As Darius was just mentioning and as you saw just a few minutes ago, when that apparent federal vehicle was trying to leave that gated area right there, these federal agents did try to escort the vehicle out into the crowd the protesters trying to block it. That is when there was some sort of scuffle between an agent and an individual.
I just looked it up. That's about an hour and 15 minutes away from me. Oh, man, I'm like itching to climb out there and go. ICE and federal agents unleashing on left-wing agitators, arresting at least one who tried to form a blockade at an immigration facility near Chicago. The Broadview ICE facility is located at 1930 Beach Street. I believe that's the address. U.S. Immigrations and Customs Enforcement on Beach Street. That's where it's at. So, you F around and you're going to find out, bitches. If you got value in this report, tap subscribe because my final thought is next. This is what winning looks like. Federal agents deploying tear gas on radical mobs, ICE hauling away criminal illegals while protesters scream helplessly. National Guard units preparing to deploy to American cities. The anarchists who terrorized our communities for years just learned a very hard lesson that Donald Trump isn't bluffing. Ford Fisher, you saw the video footage capturing it perfectly. Federal forces moving in formation, crushing blockades, declaring unlawful assemblies for the second Friday running. The left calls it Trump's America. Sad. Wrong. This is law and order returning after years of chaos. From Memphis restaurant owners begging for protection to Louisiana mothers burying murdered children, America is demanding action. And now they're getting it. So here's my question. Should Trump deploy federal forces to every city where local Democrats refuse to maintain order? Drop a yes or a no. Drop your answers below. The days of mob rule just ended. Federal muscle is flexing from coast to coast. You can show your support with Next News gear and stand with those bringing order back to the streets at shop.nextnewsnetwork.com. Yeah, baby. Bring it. Bring it. All right. Moving right along. Asino says, Our America, yes! Good luck says, R.I.P. Charlie Kirk. Yeah. Everyone's like, yeah, baby, go, go, go. Ice, baby. That's right. Ice, baby. Now we're going to move on to something that's going to piss you off completely. I'm sorry. Yeah. This is a very, very sick story. But this is par for the course. These are the actions that we expect from the left. Ready? Let's go. The vote was 310 to 58, and every single no came from the party of tolerance. After Charlie Kirk's assassination shook this nation, Democrats couldn't even pretend to have basic human decency because truly they lack a soul. But the vote is just the beginning of this horror show. Hollywood elites are literally celebrating death at cocktail parties while major broadcasting companies defy orders to honor a fallen patriot. AOC called honoring Kirk's life painful to millions of Americans. Keith Olbermann told Sinclair Broadcasting to burn in hell for planning a tribute. The mask isn't just slipping, it's been thrown into the fire. What you're about to see will reveal exactly who these people really are, so do not look away. Now, as we expose how 58 Democrats dishonored a murdered patriot, it's crucial to protect what matters. Now, a 2025 survey found that over half of U.S. adults are concerned about how fast their skin is aging, 40% fixate on random wrinkles or dark spots. But while Democrats celebrate death and dishonor heroes, taking care of yourself becomes an act of defiance. And this is why I use my secret anti-aging weapon, premium collagen, that's helped me maintain vitality while fighting daily battles. Since taking it, I've experienced smoother skin, more elasticity, fewer fine lines. Be sure to grab a bag of ageless collagen now while it's 51% off, only at healthwithgary.com. You'll find a link below, and we thank them for sponsoring this program. This is what the majority of Democrats in the House couldn't bring themselves to vote for. Condemning an assassination, extending condolences, and calling for a rejection to political violence. Zach Parkinson writes, there is no both sides problem. Democrats are actively condoning violence. This is the resolution in the House of Representatives. Condemn the strongest possible terms the assassination of Charlie Kirk in all forms of political violence. Commends and honors the dedicated law enforcement and emergency personnel for their tireless efforts to finding the suspect responsible for the assassination. Extends deepest condolences and sympathies to Charlie Kirk's family, including his wife Erica and their 2 young children, and prays for comfort, peace, and healing. Honors life, leadership, and legacy of Charlie Kirk, and calls upon Americans, regardless of race, party affiliation, or creed, to reject political violence. Yeah, they couldn't vote for that. Here are the 58 House Democrats that voted no. 38 that voted present on a resolution honoring Charlie Kirk's life and condemning. Now, obviously, this is a very small font, but this is the list, folks. This is the list of everybody voting present or nay. Disgusting. Tucker Carlson sitting in the studio hosting the Charlie Kirk show, paying a tribute to his friend. Tucker Carlson anchoring. Beautiful thing to see. Sad that that chair is empty. And then we have this. Department of Homeland Security has declared Charlie Kirk's memorial at State Farm Stadium in Glendale as a Level 1 special event that is reserved for events of the highest national significance. DHS, let me repeat that. DHS declaring Charlie Kirk's memorial, that's this weekend, a Level 1 special event. Kirk's memorial, being designated a special assignment rating, is reserved for the highest national significance. Glendale police tell us they're coordinating with both state and federal law enforcement to make sure everything goes as planned. They'll have SWAT teams mobilized, drones in the air, swarms of officers to handle both those attending and those who might show up to protest.
Event assessment. DHS has declared it a special security event similar to the Super Bowl. And we are joined now by national correspondent Jeff Paul, who is live in Phoenix with more on this. Hey, Jeff.
Hey, Bill and Aisha. Well, yeah, more and more people are starting to show up here in Arizona ahead of that planned public memorial for Charlie Kirk. They're expecting tens of thousands of people to pack into Glendale State Farm Stadium, and authorities tell us they will be ready. Now, we checked in with the Department of Homeland Security, which tells us, given the fact that people like President Trump will be in attendance, Kirk's memorial is being designated as a special event assessment rating level 1. This is reserved for the highest national significance. We also checked in with Glendale police, who tell us they're coordinating with both state and federal law enforcement to make sure everything goes as planned. They'll have the SWAT team mobilized, drones in the air, and swarms of officers to handle both those attending and those who might show up to protest.
We're aware of all the situations of the climate. We're aware of, feelings and things that are being said online. We just want to make sure that regardless of where you fall on the political spectrum, whether you're attending to support, whether you're attending to protest, we want everything to be peaceful. We want everything to be safe, and we just want to take care of everyone.
And with Antifa being designated a terrorist organization, I think that they will be certainly put on notice. Keith Olbermann says, burn in hell, Sinclair, alongside Charlie Kirk 24 hours ago. What a sick, sick thing to say. What a filthy human being. Sinclair says Kimmel's suspension is not enough, calls on FCC and ABC to take additional action. Sinclair's ABC stations to air special in remembrance of Charlie Kirk during Jimmy Kimmel Live on Friday time slot. Sinclair decided to indefinitely preempt Jimmy Kimmel beginning tonight. Following these discussions, ABC suspended the production of the Jimmy Kimmel Show. Keith Olbermann, man. No wonder he's not on any broadcast airwaves anymore. And then we have AOC, I mean, therefore I am, says, breaking, one of the dumbest reps in Congress says the resolution to honor Charlie Kirk's life brings great pain to the millions of Americans who falsely claiming that his rhetoric and beliefs were ignorance. She and 57 other House Democrats voted against the simple resolution to honor Kirk's life.
Depravity. Today, the Republican House majority brought to the floor a resolution honoring, quote, honoring the life and legacy of Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk's assassination was a horrific and vile attack and incident of political violence. And condemning the depravity of Kirk's brutal murder is a straightforward matter, one that is especially important to help stabilize an increasingly unsafe and volatile political environment where everyday people feel more at risk. We can deeply disagree and come together as a country to denounce the horror of this killing. And it is not a license for the abuse of power and whitewashing of American history. Today's resolution only underscores the majority's recklessness by choosing to author this condemnation and honoring on a purely partisan basis, instead of uniting Congress in this tragedy with one of the many bipartisan options to condemn political violence and Kirk's murder, as we did with the late Melissa Hortman. Instead, the majority proceeded with a resolution that brings great pain to the millions of Americans who endured segregation, Jim Crow, and the legacy of bigotry today.
Wow.
We should be clear about who Charlie Kirk was.
Oh, yeah?
A man who believed that the Civil Rights Act that granted Black Americans the right to vote was a mistake. Who, after the violent attack on Paul Pelosi, claimed that, quote, some amazing patriot, unquote, should bail out his brutal assailant. And accused Jews of controlling, quote, not just the colleges, it's the nonprofits, it's the movies, it's Hollywood, it's all of it, unquote.
Oh, I'm sure those are all taken out of context, AOC. But not unlike the violent rhetoric we've heard spewed from your side for years and years and years. So you're going to cherry pick a couple things Charlie said on Twitter. Nice try. AOC joining 57 Democrats in voting against the resolution. Gunter Eagleman says, there are words that I would love to say right now, but none would be harsh enough. There is no moral bottom for these sick and depraved communists. They must be expelled from D.C. Kathy Lee Gifford providing a beautiful tribute to Charlie Kirk at a memorial.
Extraordinary. And what we have in common tonight is that we came here to not only honor the memory of this extraordinary, godly man who stood up for truth and paid a great price for it, but we're also here to proclaim triumph, not tragedy. Not tragedy. This is not a tragedy, and we cannot think about it. Jesus, when he hung on the cross on Friday, Passover, everybody thought the world had done with him and got rid of him, and we'd never see him again. And then you know what happened, everybody? Sunday morning happened. And
Sunday morning, we are going to honor Charlie Kirk because his legacy lives on. Multiple vigils happening all over the nation still. Actor Rainn Wilson says he witnessed his liberal friends in Hollywood celebrating Charlie Kirk's death at a recent event.
Vociferous, and the country is being torn apart in so many different ways. While I didn't agree with his ideas, shooting someone that we disagree with, even if they're vociferous and loud and out there, is so colossally wrong-headed. I spoke to a couple of, let's say, some liberal friends last night at an event, and they were like, you won't find me shedding any tears. And someone else was like, oh, well, there was a little bit of a kind of a good riddance thing. And it's like, guys, no.
Yeah, I know.
No.
I know.
We cannot think or talk that way.
Not at all.
That is not
it's
okay.
So dangerous, man.
Country is being
torn apart. But we will find healing, my friends. This Sunday is when the official funeral will be held. And we are going to do our best to see if we can carry it for you here live on the Next News Network. If you got value from this report, tap subscribe. My final thought is next. So the masks are off forever. Well, 58 Democrats vote against condemning assassination and honoring a murdered patriot. We see their true hearts. When Keith Olbermann screams burn in hell at broadcasters planning tributes, when AOC claims honoring Kirk brings pain to millions, when Hollywood liberals toast his death at parties, this is not politics anymore, it's pure evil. Rainn Wilson admitted his liberal friends were laughing about Kirk's murder. Steve Scalise calling it disgraceful. The insanity of voting against condemning political violence has now been exposed. But Sinclair Broadcasting showed their true courage. They are airing Kirk tributes in Kimmel's time slot while the left rages. So here's my question. Should the 58 Democrats who voted no be censured for dishonoring an assassination victim? Drop a yes or no in the comments below. The vote drew a line in history. On one side, Americans honoring a fallen patriot. On the other, Democrats spitting on his grave. Support this show as we continue to honor Charlie's life by going to our merch shop at shop.nextnewsnetwork.com. So, ladies and gentlemen, what a show we've had. What an absolute revelation of who these people really are. We start with Jimmy Kimmel getting yanked off the air while Democrats who built the censorship machine suddenly discovered free speech. Same people who cheered when we got deplatformed are now crying because their court jester got silenced. Tom Elliott exposed their hypocrisy perfectly. They created speech codes, and now they're choking on them. Then came the Antifa bombshell. Trump is not playing defense anymore. He's going full RICO on Soros and designating these black mass terrorists for what they are, enemies of the state. Andy Ngo reminded us what's at stake. Brain bleeds, assassinations, bombings. This is not protest, that's war. And Trump just declared it. The deep state corruption explosion showed us that Lisa Cook, Adam Schiff, Letitia James, all caught in the same scandal while Chuck Schumer holds America hostage for $1 trillion. $500 million for NPR propaganda, free healthcare for illegals. They're not even hiding it. Real fireworks came in Chicago. You saw it. ICE agents unleashing tear gas on radical mobs, federal forces crushing blockades. The days of letting anarchists run our streets just ended with sting balls and handcuffs. From Louisiana to Memphis, law and order isn't coming back, it's here. And that final vote, 310 to 58, every single no vote dishonoring Charlie Kirk came from Democrats. Keith Olbermann screaming, burn in hell at anyone who honors him. Hollywood liberals toasting his death at parties. This is not political disagreements, it's moral bankruptcy on full display. So to everyone who sent in super chats and Rumble rants tonight, thank you. There was a $5 one that just came in from Chris. Thank you, Chris. Your voices make this show what it is. You're not just viewers, you are the resistance. You are the reason that we keep fighting. So keep telling your friends about what you saw. Text in the link, share it on social, break through their algorithms, and while you're at it, check out shop.nextnewsnetwork.com. Grab yourself some Next News gear and wear your defiance like armor. Today we proved something crucial. The establishment isn't just losing, they're exposing themselves in their desperation. Every move that they make reveals more truth. Every attack shows their weakness. Every lie pushes more Americans to our side. This is Gary Franchi reminding you, we're not just reporting the news, we are living through history. The battle lines are drawn, the masks are off, and Monday we'll be right back here, exposing more truth they don't want you to see. So thank you for joining us on the Raw feed. Keep watching, keep fighting, and we'll see you on the next show. Have a wonderful and blessed weekend.